There's a moment almost every trader reaches where frustration quietly sets in. You're not brand new anymore. You've put in real time. You've studied. You've practiced. You've been through enough sessions to know what trading actually feels like. And yet, progress feels slow, painfully slow. You look back over weeks or months and think, I should be better by now. I should be more consistent. I should be seeing clearer results. That feeling is heavy, not dramatic, just persistent. And it's one of the most dangerous moments in a trader's development. Not because you're failing, but because your perception of progress has quietly drifted away from reality. Most traders don't quit when they're losing badly. They quit when they feel stuck, when effort no longer feels proportional to reward, when improvement feels invisible. So let's talk about why progress in trading feels slower than it actually is. Because the reason has nothing to do with intelligence, discipline, or effort. It has everything to do with how humans perceive time, effort, and feedback under uncertainty. Progress in trading doesn't unfold the way most people expect. In most skills, improvement is visible. You lift more weight. You run faster. You play fewer wrong notes. Feedback is immediate and tangible. Trading doesn't work like that. The most important improvements in trading happen internally first, and internal change is hard to see. Before results stabilize, something else has to stabilize. Your emotional responses, your decision-making under pressure, your ability to sit with uncertainty without acting on it. Those improvements don't show up in your P&L right away, but they are progress, real progress. The problem is, most traders aren't looking there. They're scanning for outcomes. They're waiting for validation. They're measuring improvement by green days and smooth equity curves. And when those don't appear quickly enough, the mind fills in the gap with a story. I'm not improving. That story feels true, but it's usually wrong. Let's slow this down. Imagine two versions of the same trader. 1 year ago, this trader, panicked after losses, overtraded on slow days, took setups out of boredom, felt emotionally hijacked by missed trades. Today, that same trader takes losses without spiraling, trades less often, walks away more easily, feels discomfort, but doesn't react to it from the outside. Results might look similar, but internally, the difference is massive. One version is reactive, the other is regulated. And regulation always comes before consistency. That's the part most traders don't understand. They expect results to prove improvement. But in trading, improvement often shows up first as less chaos, not more profit, less emotional noise, less urgency, less internal conflict. Those changes are subtle. They don't feel like breakthroughs. They don't create excitement. They just create space. And because they don't feel dramatic, traders dismiss them. They think, this doesn't count yet. But it does. Because emotional stability is the foundation on which results eventually sit. Now let's talk about time perception. When you're emotionally invested in an outcome, time feels slower. Waiting feels longer. Effort feels heavier. Progress feels delayed. That's not a trading issue. That's a nervous system issue. When the brain wants certainty and doesn't get it, it becomes impatient. It starts scanning for evidence that the effort is paying off. And when that evidence isn't obvious, frustration builds. That frustration distorts perception. You begin to underestimate how much has changed. You forget how you used to react. You compare yourself to an imagined version of where you should be. And that imagined timeline becomes the enemy. The phrase, I should be further along by now, is one of the most damaging thoughts in trading, because it implies there's a correct pace. There isn't. Progress in trading is nonlinear. It moves in plateaus. Long stretches where nothing seems to change, followed by sudden shifts. Most of the work happens during the plateaus. But plateaus don't feel productive. They feel stagnant. And that's where traders get discouraged. They mistake integration for stagnation. They mistake emotional rewiring for lack of progress. But rewiring is slow. It requires repetition. It requires boredom. It requires restraint. And restraint doesn't feel like growth. It feels like waiting. This is why many traders abandon good habits too early. They journal for a few weeks. They refine rules. They clean up execution. But because results don't immediately improve, they stop. They think the effort isn't working. In reality, it just hasn't matured yet. Now let's talk about expectations. Most traders overestimate how quickly consistency should appear. They see others online claiming rapid success. They hear stories of fast growth. They internalize unrealistic timelines. So when their own progress unfolds at a human pace, it feels inadequate. But those timelines are almost always distorted. They ignore drawdowns. They skip the messy middle. They compress years into highlight reels. When you compare your real experience to curated narratives, your progress will always feel slow. That's not because you're behind. It's because you're comparing reality to fiction. Another reason progress feels slow is because improvements stack quietly. You don't notice them day to day. You notice them in hindsight, when you realize, I would have blown up in that situation a few months ago. I would have chased that move before. I would have taken that trade out of boredom. Those realizations don't show up as profits. They show up as restraint. And restraint doesn't feel rewarding at first. But restraint is what protects capital and mental energy, which is what allows longevity. Let's be clear about something. If progress feels slow, that does not mean you're stuck. It often means you're between visible milestones. The work is happening, just not where you're looking. Instead of asking, why am I not where I want to be yet? Ask, what am I doing better than I used to? That question shifts perception. It anchors progress to reality instead of expectation. And perception matters, because perception determines motivation. If you believe you're stagnating, motivation drops. If you recognize subtle improvement, motivation stabilizes. This is why reframing progress is not motivational fluff. It's a practical psychological skill. Now let's talk about what actually accelerates progress. It's not more effort. It's not more pressure. It's alignment. When your expectations match the reality of skill development, frustration decreases. When frustration decreases, behavior stabilizes. When behavior stabilizes, results eventually follow. Trying to force progress creates tension. Tension interferes with learning. Learning requires safety. Safety allows repetition. Repetition builds mastery. That chain cannot be skipped. So if progress feels slow, the most productive move is not to push harder. It's to check where your expectations are misaligned. Are you measuring the right things? Are you noticing behavioral changes? Are you giving yourself credit for emotional stability? If not, you're erasing progress as fast as it's being made. That creates the illusion of stagnation. And illusions are dangerous in trading. They lead to abandonment of good processes. They lead to strategy hopping. They lead to unnecessary risk-taking. They lead to burnout. The traders who make it long-term are not the ones who progress fastest. They're the ones who don't quit during the slow parts, because they understand what the slow parts are doing. They're laying foundations. Foundations don't look impressive while they're being built, but nothing stands without them. Progress doesn't need to feel fast to be real. It just needs to be sustained. And when you stop demanding visible proof every step of the way, progress speeds up naturally, not because you forced it, but because you stopped fighting the process. Now let's bring this into something practical. Because understanding why progress feels slow is useful, but what actually changes things is how you respond to that feeling when it shows up. The moment progress feels slow, most traders unconsciously do one of three things. They either push harder, change something unnecessarily, or lose faith in what they're doing. All three reactions come from the same place: discomfort with uncertainty. When improvement isn't obvious, the mind looks for certainty anywhere it can find it. More trades, more rules, more data, more pressure. But none of those create progress. They create noise. Progress in trading isn't built by intensity. It's built by repeatable behavior under pressure. And repeatable behavior takes time to stabilize. Here's something most traders miss. You don't get consistent results first. You get consistent behavior first. And consistent behavior feels boring. It feels uneventful. It feels flat. It feels slow, which is why people mislabel it as stagnation. But boredom is often a sign that volatility has moved inside, not outside. Your emotions aren't swinging wildly anymore. Your decisions aren't reactive. Your nervous system isn't spiking with every tick. That's not stagnation. That's regulation. And regulation is invisible until it compounds. Another reason progress feels slow is because you're still emotionally attached to the idea of arrival. You're waiting for a moment where it finally feels like, now I've got it. But trading doesn't give you that moment. There is no finish line. There is no final level. What actually happens is subtler. You stop panicking in situations that used to trigger you. You stop forcing trades that used to feel irresistible. You stop spiraling after losses that once ruined your day. Those changes don't feel like success. They feel like absence, the absence of chaos, the absence of urgency, the absence of internal conflict. And because humans are wired to notice presence, not absence, you overlook it. You don't celebrate the thing that didn't happen. You don't feel proud of the mistake you didn't make. But those non-events are the strongest indicators of growth. Let's talk about how to measure progress correctly, because this is where most traders go wrong. If your only metric is profits and losses, progress will always feel slow. Profit and loss statements are noisy. It reflects randomness, not just skill. It's delayed feedback. And delayed feedback is emotionally unsatisfying. Instead, you need secondary metrics. Metrics that track behavioral stability. Ask yourself things like, how often do I break my rules compared to 3 months ago? How quickly do I emotionally recover from a loss? How often do I trade out of boredom? How much tension do I feel during drawdowns? How long does frustration linger now versus before? These are progress indicators. They just don't show up in your account statement. Another important shift is understanding where impatience comes from. Impatience is rarely about time. It's about meaning. You're not just waiting for results. You're waiting for reassurance that you're on the right path. When reassurance doesn't arrive quickly, doubt fills the gap. That doubt says, maybe this isn't working. Maybe I'm wasting time. Maybe I'm behind. Those thoughts feel urgent. But urgency is not insight. Urgency is discomfort looking for resolution. The mistake is trying to resolve that discomfort through trading performance. That's backwards. You resolve it by changing how you relate to time and progress. Here's the reframe that actually helps. Progress in trading is not additive, it's integrative. You're not stacking skills on top of each other. You're integrating emotional responses into decision-making. That process takes repetition under real conditions. And real conditions are messy. They don't move in straight lines. They don't reward effort evenly. They don't give consistent feedback, which is exactly why most people struggle with this profession. The traders who survive aren't the most talented. They're the ones who tolerate delayed gratification. They're the ones who don't abandon progress just because it feels slow. They're the ones who understand that nothing meaningful changes quickly under uncertainty. Let's be honest about something uncomfortable. If progress felt fast, everyone would make it. If results arrived cleanly and predictably, trading wouldn't be hard. The difficulty is the filter. The slowness is the filter. The frustration is the filter. They're not obstacles to progress. They are the environment in which progress happens. And once you understand that, the emotional tone changes. You stop asking, "Why isn't this working yet?" And you start asking, "How do I stay stable long enough for it to work?" That shift alone can save years. Because the danger isn't slow progress. The danger is quitting while progress is happening quietly. It's ripping out good habits because they haven't paid off yet. It's confusing emotional discomfort with lack of improvement. Those mistakes don't come from ignorance. They come from impatience. So if progress feels slow right now, here's what to do. Don't change your strategy. Don't increase risk. Don't demand more from yourself. Instead, slow down your expectations. Track behavior, not outcomes. Notice emotional recovery time. Value restraint as skill. And remind yourself of this. You are not behind. You are integrating. And integration is slower than learning, but far more durable. The results you're waiting for are downstream from the stability you're building. They can't arrive before it. They can only follow it. And once they do, they tend to stick. That's the difference between temporary success and long-term mastery. So if today feels uneventful, flat, or slow, that doesn't mean nothing is happening. It may mean something important is settling into place. And that's the trader's hidden edge. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more insights into trading psychology. And if you've ever felt stuck in your progress, leave a comment below. What feels slow right now? I look forward to seeing you in the next video.